Thank you very much for inviting me, for having me. Thanks to the Estonian government by inviting me to give this, to contribute to this panel discussion. Talking about cross-border connectivity, digital transformation. First of all, let's talk a little bit about digital transformation. It is the set of processes by which each country or company go through in order to embrace fully a digital, a real use of ICT. By saying everything we do today in a conventional way, we need to do it in a digital way. So, looking at Africa, we have 54 countries with a 1.2 billion population. We have over 50 digital legal, legislative and regulatory policies, limited cross-country infrastructure, and a strong reliance on the non-African, and I will explain that a little bit. The intra-Africa trade ratio, well, the percent we have only 18, these 54 countries, only 18% of African exports between Africa and themselves, compared to the EU, which is 69%. Digital markets are largely national and do not really benefit from the scale of the continent, and we have a low level of digital skills. Going to the next slide. A situation that actually, it called up 25 countries, more than today, 25 countries, more than 600 million population from the alliance, to form an alliance, and with the 41 private partners to face the fourth industrial revolution. As you can see, we have institutional partners like World Bank, African Union, ITU, UNICA. On the private sector, we have a GSMR and all of this. We also have a partner here, also Rockefeller Foundation, through a future state. And where each actually country leads a champion, a flagship project which collectively form a pillar and enablers of digital transformations. We're talking about the pillars like policy, access, e-governance, and so on and so forth. So the real objective is, we came together with a clear vision, which is, with all of these problems, or symptom, I would say, or challenges, I wouldn't say actually a problem, is to transform Africa into a single digital market. How do we want to do that? Is to build an affordable network and an affordable digital infrastructure, and we harmonize policies, regulation, and promote and facilitate doing business across Africa. By that, the KPI will be to accelerate the birth of a digital literacy. We don't do this it's not a silo. We do this in a line, of course, with our partners, such as African Union. There is a talk about strategic document, EU-AU task force, where actually Smart Africa is part of it. UNICA, United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, and also European Union, the World Bank, African Development Bank, and so on and so forth. We do it together with the private. This is the first time the public and private said, let's sit together in an alliance and let's talk about what do we do for Africa to be able to leapfrog. And that vision actually is supported by three groups of objectives in order to build a single digital market. You see, Africa has an advantage here. In Europe, there's a legacy. We heard that in the morning. In Africa, we're not carrying any legacy, so we could go faster. The first of this objective is actually to develop an affordable digital platform. What do we mean by that exactly? And the second one is to harmonize. We build affordable infrastructure. Why infrastructure first? And we harmonize and actually promote doing business across Africa. Then we go and build the digital literacy. To talk about this one by one, the game of numbers, I like this, the figures, but let's focus on the trends. If there is an operator in this room, you might or you might not actually agree with me on this figure. Look at all this submarine cable about Africa. One thing I would like to tell you guys, 51% of the world population is connected. 41% is not connected. The infrastructure of fiber optic submarine cable combined together with satellite, we have a coverage of over 95% of the Earth. So why this price? Why the internet, Africa being the fastest growing continent in the world, why the internet is so expensive? This card, this map actually shows me. Let me give you an example. Whether you can contest it or not, it came, sources here, it's by cable, where you have a 1 gigabyte of internet in Kigali, in Rwanda, 0.56 cents in US dollars. In Cote d'Ivoire, it's 4.1. Rwanda being a landlocked country, Ivory Coast, looking at this here, we have a 3 submarine cable, SAT3, ACE, and WAX. Why? With all this 95% coverage around the world, we're still not getting there. This is the reason. I have a feeling from this map that Africa is actually sponsoring the operators, if I'm allowed to say. So next slide. What result that give you? Here's the KPI that comes of it. If you look at this map, it tells you exactly where the submarine cable are. This is where you see really the development of digital economy. It is not inside Africa. Even if you look at the social media use, those big numbers, you can see it only across. That leads us to this, the first objective. It focuses on developing affordable network. What do we mean by that? It means to interconnect all the African countries, establish one African network. Why? Some of the countries today, we're in 21st century. If you're in the western part of Africa and you want to call eastern part or even your neighbor, guess what? The call goes through Europe or Latin America or Southeast Asia, because there are only 5 or 6 clearinghouses in the world. Africa is not part of it. One in South America, one in North America, one in Southeast Asia, one in the Middle East, one for Europe and Africa. But your neighbor is actually here. Why not direct connection? So by connecting Africa, what do we get? The impact, social and economic, is actually reduce the high cost of dependency on the internet access on submarine cable, also reducing the cost of internet access in Africa and make it affordable. We don't want to depend too much on that because we have intra-Africa connectivity. These are the Smart Africa member countries, 24, 25, plus 9 non-Smart Africa members. It allows also equal access to submarine cable. For example, a country like in Niger, which is 1.2, 1.3 million square meter, they cannot have a fiber optic through submarine cable. They have to come through individual, giving them diversity of access of submarine cable, internet access. It actually put the pressure on the submarine cable people. Also, it's an opportunity for the submarine cable provider to be able to say, oh, we don't have a landlocked country anymore in Africa. We can go all the way to Niger and provide services. Promote One Africa Network, which is, I will talk about One Africa Network. It means how do we act together that African data, calls, SMS, voice, and data stays in Africa for GDPR purposes. Now I'll tell you. It will unlock also the potentials for a continental data centers. Once we have this infrastructure, then you're actually making the bright beautiful. Then you will see the GAFAM, Amazon, so on and so forth. They will be able to put data centers across Africa. The data of Africa will stay in Africa, but you cannot do that without actually governing your data. Not only data, I'm talking about governing knowledge or wisdom, because data becomes information, information becomes knowledge, knowledge becomes wisdom. Next slide. So the second objective is to focus on harmonizing regulation. We are doing this in Smart Africa by creating Council of African Regulatory. That's how we manage to do to get to the One Africa Network thing. So, but doing that also, we're promoting and facilitating the businesses. What do we need? How do we do it? How do we achieve objective number 2 today? It is through our flagship project, Intra-Africa Cross-Border Connectivity, One Africa Network, digital economy, which is actually championed by Kenya, and also startup innovation championed by Tunisia. As you can see here, the connectivity is actually championed by Guinea. The third objective focuses on accelerating rebirth by saying that we initiated a project like Smart City, championed by Rwanda, and we have Smart Village, championed by Niger. We have capacity building by Burkina Faso, and Scholarship Fund, which is actually managed by Smart Africa Secretariat itself. Where do we came from? 2014, 2016, Smart Africa did not exist. When we came into birth, the first launch, 2 projects, free roaming and Smart Africa Scholarship. Today, we have 61 scholarships. Our scholarship students are in Carnegie Mellon University in Rwanda, and we have ASMT in Senegal, École Supérieure et Multinationale de Technologie, I believe, in Senegal. What did we do in free roaming? We actually run 2 pilot projects, one in the Northern Corridor country and the other one in the ECOWAS country. Together today, we have about 14 countries testing out of 24. What did we find out? What is it free roaming? I think Europe went through that. You're from Rwanda, you go to Kenya, you get charged $4 a minute. Then we say, okay, let's flat out the roaming charges. After 3 months, the traffic grew by 800%. It was a win-win. We did the same thing in the, on the western coast of Africa, the ECOWAS countries, 7 countries piloting right now. When you land in Bamako, you have a Côte d'Ivoire number or you have a Guinea number, you will get a message that you have 300 minutes for 30 days free roaming. So that leads us to the success of that free roaming. It gives birth to the One Africa Network, which actually has some critical decisions need to be made. Mainly, how do we want to do that? To act in as a One Africa Network, we need to have local clearinghouses nationally connected to a regional 4-region clearinghouses. Then we act as a block of a country. Then we can terminate our SMSs, our voice traffic, our data traffic in Africa. Phase 2, focus on launching initiatives like scaling up membership. Today we are 25 countries and 9 international organizations. I talked about that. Also 9 projects initiated and 4 blueprints. We'll talk a little bit about it, which is, we take us to the slide where we are today. What do we do today? We identify, we analyze project, then we develop blueprints, and we raise funds to be able to implement those, and together we do it with the countries. All of this is with the public-private partnership. While the country focuses nationally, we focus on the sub-regional integration and the regional integrations, and so on and so forth. And also we showcase our project. 11 projects identified. I'm not going to go through all of this. I only have 2.5 minutes, which is establishing One African Network, facilitating bulk purchase of data, because today, if we reach 1 billion population, we hear in the morning, it's all about numbers. It means we can literally create 1 billionaire, African billionaire every single day by tailor-made. The application in a local context, have an African develop an app and sell it for $1. We can. Move forward. We showcase, we have 4 blueprints been identified, 3 in the near future. We launched Intra connectivity during a Transform Africa last week. Smart cities, capacity building, and all of that. And we showcased during a Transform, and also in the individual country initiative that I'm about to attend in Guinea between the 11th and the 14th. That takes me to my end of slide. That's the record, right?